Welcome to the final and most crucial chapter of our trilogy on inflation. In the previous videos, we understood the monster, what it is, how it is calculated, and why central banks play with fire. But today we are going to look directly into the abyss. We are going to talk about the economic apocalypse, hyperinflation. Imagine waking up in the morning and a cup of coffee costs $1. By the time you go to bed, that same coffee costs $2. By the end of the week, it costs $100. This is not science fiction. This is the nightmare that has destroyed empires and pulverized the savings of millions of people throughout history. Hyperinflation is not just high inflation. It is the total loss of confidence in a currency. It is when money becomes trash, literally paper used to light the fireplace because it is cheaper than buying wood. Let's travel back in time to Germany, 1923, the Weimar Republic. After the First World War, the government began printing money uncontrollably to pay its debts. The result? Workers had to carry their wages in wheelbarrows. People ordered 2 beers at once because the price would rise before they finished the first one. Children played with stacks of bills like building blocks because the toys were more expensive than the money itself. It was total chaos. A loaf of bread went from costing 250 marks to 200 billion marks in less than a year. But don't think this is just old history. Let's look at Hungary in 1946. They hold the world record. Prices doubled every 15 hours. Can you imagine that? Every 15 hours, your money was worth half as much. They had to introduce bills of ridiculous denominations, figures so large that mathematics could barely name them. It was the complete annihilation of the middle class. And closer to our time, we have the case of Zimbabwe in the 2000s. Where they printed bills of $100 trillion that were barely enough to buy a bus ticket. Or the tragic case of Venezuela in our own continent, where the bolivar lost almost all its value, forcing people to resort to barter or foreign currencies just to survive day to day. Why does this happen? It is never an accident. It is always a sequence of catastrophic errors. Excessive money printing to finance public spending, a collapse in production, and finally, the death of trust. Once citizens stop believing in the currency, the speed at which money changes hands, the velocity of money, accelerates uncontrollably. No one wants to hold the hot potato. Everyone wants to exchange that paper for something real, anything, food, gold, goods. And that panic is what ends up burying the economy. This scenario is terrifying because it destroys the social fabric. It wipes out the savings of a lifetime of work in a matter of weeks. Retirees see their pensions evaporate. But here is the key. This happens when you depend 100% on fiat money, money by decree, money that politicians can print at will. If you are realizing how fragile the paper money in your wallet really is, I need you to stop for a second. If you don't want to be a victim of the system and want to learn how to truly protect your heritage, click the subscribe button right now. Activate the bell. In this channel, we don't just tell you the problems, we give you the tools to survive them. Don't let inflation eat your future. Subscribe and join our community of informed investors. Now, we have seen the horror. We have seen the destruction, but I promised you a solution. How do you protect yourself from a monster that eats money? The answer is not keeping cash under the mattress. That is exactly what inflation wants you to do to destroy you. The answer lies in hard assets. We are entering the survival zone. To survive high inflation or hyperinflation, you must transform your liquid money, that paper that is losing value, into assets that maintain or increase their value over time. You must stop being a saver in fiat currency and become an investor in real value. First line of defense: gold and silver. For 5,000 years, gold has been the ultimate store of value. When currencies collapse, gold remains. In Weimar Germany, while billionaires in paper marks starved, those who had a few gold coins could buy entire blocks of properties. Precious metals are the insurance against the stupidity of central banks. It is not about getting rich with them, but about not becoming poor. Second fortress: real estate. Bricks, land. A house is a tangible asset. You can live in it, you can rent it out. In times of inflation, rent prices tend to rise along with everything else, protecting your cash flow. Furthermore, debt works in your favor here. If you have a fixed-rate mortgage, inflation dilutes the value of that debt. You pay back the bank with money that is worth less and less, while your property maintains its real value. It is one of the greatest wealth transfers in history for those who know how to use it. Third pillar: shares of solid companies. Stocks represent ownership in real businesses. If Coca-Cola charges more for its products due to inflation, its revenues rise, and theoretically, the stock price should adjust. You are buying productive capacity, not paper. Of course, you must choose companies with pricing power, the ability to raise prices without losing customers. And we cannot ignore the new player, Bitcoin. Many consider it digital gold. Its supply is mathematically limited to 21 million coins. No government can print more Bitcoin to pay its debts. Although it is volatile, its fundamental design is the antithesis of the inflationary system. It is a lifeboat for many in countries with failed currencies who need to move their wealth digitally and without censorship. The strategy is diversification. You do not bet everything on one card. But the worst bet is to leave your money stagnant in a bank account with 0% interest while inflation is at 10%, 20%, or 50%. That is financial suicide. The conclusion of this series is clear. Inflation is a hidden tax. It is the price we pay for living in a system based on debt and fiat money. You cannot stop the central bank from printing money. You cannot stop the government from spending more than it earns. But you can build an ark. You can educate yourself. You can convert that ephemeral paper into solid assets. Financial literacy is not a luxury. It is your shield. Understanding these concepts puts you in the top 1% of the population that is not swept away by the current. Do not wait for the crisis to knock on your door to act. Start today. Analyze your portfolio. Do you have too much cash? Do you have real assets? Are you protected? Thank you for accompanying me on this journey through the economy. If you have watched all 3 videos, you now have a vision that few possess. You are awake. If this series has opened your eyes, please give it a like so that YouTube shows it to more people and we can wake up the world. Leave me a comment below. Which of these assets do you trust more to protect yourself? Gold, real estate, or Bitcoin? I want to read your opinion. And if you haven't seen the first 2 videos, I'll leave them right here on the screen. Click now to master the full story. I'm Money Signals. See you in the next video. Good luck and good investments.